You've written a book and you've celebrated and you think the hard part is over. But unfortunately, it's just beginning. Now comes the editing process. Hi, my name is Joel Mark Harris. I'm the president of Ghostwriters & Co. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to find an editor. But first, please like and subscribe. I've got lots of great content coming up about the writing process, about publishing, about ghostwriting, and of course, editing. First, before we dive into editing, you have to know that there's 3 different types of editors. There's a developmental editor, there's a line editor, and then lastly, there's a copy editor. And now, there's different terminology used for these 3 layers or levels of editing. So make sure that whenever you hire an editor, you know which level they're going to do. It's generally not preferable to have one editor do all 3 layers. So the developmental editor is like the broad general editor. He or she is the person who looks at the whole structure of the story and figure out, does the story make sense? Is it coherent? Can the reader go with the flow and really figure out what you're trying to say? And are you emphasizing the right points? If you are writing a fiction book, then they'll look at the characters, their different character traits, and if they act within those different character traits and are consistent throughout the story. They'll look at the character arcs and make sure that those make sense and each of the main characters have an appropriate arc. The next type of editor is the line editor. And those are the people who look at the sentence structure. They'll look at they'll dive into a little bit more deeper into the words on the page and what you're saying and how you're saying. And does it make sense? Do the words flow? Can the reader really understand what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it? But they do it more on a deeper level than the developmental editor. The last type of editor is the copy editor, and this person is the one that does the nitty-gritty details, and they're the ones who are they do all the proofreading. They try and catch typos, make sure that the spelling is correct, that your grammar is right. And this is usually the last stage of editing before they send it to the publisher. And of course, you want a professional book. You don't want any typos or grammatical mistakes. And so this person will really help you clean up your manuscript and make sure it's the best it can be. The first thing I'm going to say before hiring an editor is you really want to find an editor that understands your niche. For example, if you are a romance author, you want to make sure that the editor understands the different tropes, when the characters should fall in love, the obstacles that they should face, and what the best friends should be doing, etc. So they should understand the whole genre. This is of course much different than if you're writing a business book. The editor should understand entrepreneurship. They should understand a little bit about marketing, about sales, and they should really live a little bit in that world. They don't have to be entrepreneurs themselves, but they should really understand the expectations of the reader and what what the author is really trying to convey to the end reader. If you're not sure what type of editor you need or who you should hire, a lot of editors offer some sort of free consultation. I should highly recommend that you at least interview 3 or 4 different editors, again within your niche, and to really get a different feel for them. Sometimes you can even test drive them. And so what you can do is send them a couple pages and they will hopefully edit for you and you can compare against other editors. Now, not all editors will do a free test drive for you. They won't edit a couple pages, and especially the higher end editors won't do that. But it's worth a shot, and it's worth trying out because it really can give you a flavor for what is in store. And make sure, now that you know the different types of editors, that you ask what level of editing they will do, because it's really important to get clarity. A lot of authors, they don't really understand, what levels there are, and they'll just say, okay, I just need this book edited, and the editor will come back with an edited book. But that really isn't the best way of doing it. And often what happens is then the author gets frustrated with the process, and they'll have to go and find somebody to re-edit the book after they've already paid the first editor. This is not a very efficient way of doing it. If you follow the 3 levels of edit, then that's much better, and you will save yourself time and money. So how do you find an editor? You can post a job ad on a number of different freelancing websites, and you'll get tons of applicants. One great way is to ask your writing friends for referrals and recommendation. This is usually the best way of finding a good editor. Asking your network for referrals and helping you find an editor for your book really is great, because they've already have some proven track record, and that really helps with trusting them, because what you're doing ultimately is you're trusting them to make something you've poured your heart and soul into much better. So some of the questions you might ask an editor before hiring them is what type of projects have you worked on before? Again, what are sort of the tropes or special topics that you need to include in a book? And if you don't have piles of cash to pay for a top-ranked editor, a New York Times, somebody who's worked with New York Times bestsellers, for examples, you can try giving newbies a chance, because there are a lot of talent out there, and a lot of really good editors that you can find on social media or in Facebook groups and other online platforms. And if an editor's rate seems very low, again, send them a test edit and ask for their references and for samples. And ultimately, this process can save you hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars. I can't tell you how many times I've run into authors who have had to, who've gone too long before firing an editor. And if you do this process correctly the first time, then it's really very smooth sailing going forward. All right, that's it for me for this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. In the comments, please tell me what challenges you face in hiring an editor.